Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and guests unveil astrology's ancient archetypes that continually build the collective experiences in our unconsciousness. Get ready to find your free will from your roots in the stars.
This is Sue Rose Minahan, and tonight is April 25th, 2020, and we repeat on Thursday, on the 30th at 6 a.m., and that is Pacific Daylight Time. I think on my little flyer I put Standard Time, but it is Daylight Time here, and we are introducing the new archetype for the Sun entering Taurus. So tonight is the Taurus Moonbeam team that will be talking about both the new moon, which happened just a few days ago on April 22nd. That was a Wednesday. And here on the West Coast in Pacific Daylight Time, it was 7:26 p.m. And on the East Coast, it was 10:26 p.m. And then we'll also be discussing, always 2 weeks later, the polarity point of where the sun and the moon have entered, which will be Scorpio, the full moon, and that will be May 7th, 2020 at 3:45 a.m. or it would be 6:44 a.m. and that would be an Eastern Daylight Time. And for any of you that want to know how to gauge that, if you're somewhere else, Talk Cosmos, we have a time converter. And right now, the widget that shows all the timing for the degrees of the hour has been discontinued, but we are going to be putting in a new one, this marvelous new app that has the chart and the listing, and you can change it by day, and it's really going to be quite something. There's some other references too at Talk Cosmos, and I might present the idea that all the guests, if you want to get in touch with one of them, both of our guests tonight have special offers. Just go to Talk Cosmos, find them on the guest list, and email them and we'll explain that later. So one important feature about the Taurus new moon that was on the 22nd a few days ago, that's energy is still being affected, was it was Earth Day. What synchronicity? You know, Jung coined that word, and it really is not just a coincidence. It's more than this. It's synchronicity. When the spirit, like the law of attraction, energizes and brings in what needs to be manifested. And we could say how appropriate to bring into the consciousness of all of us Mother Earth, Mother Nature, our land that we live on, the oceans, the whole everything that now we're so connected with this process of going through the journey of coronavirus, which is like the elephant in the room. Hey, we're all there, we're all at home, we're all doing something largely. So I trust with that consciousness, it's quite appropriate that also with the fact that a very strong feature in the charts these days also is Uranus in Taurus, which is in mythology, the sky mating with Earth, for that production of everything that we have. It's just one factor. So we are now ready for the Moonbeam team.
Relating to the sun and moon's energies, including the planets and the entire cosmos for the month's systematic 2-week intervals of the new moon and full moon, plus the annual 4 to 5 eclipses, this is your Moonbeam team.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, host of Talk Cosmos, an evolutionary astrologer and consultant, plus a certified color energy coach. I explore creative expression as an artist, a musician, and write abundantly, stories to poetry. I love investigating mythology's language, philosophizing eternity, and I'm a perpetual student of life, seeing oneness of body, spirit of people, animals, and nature.
I'm Elizabeth Liz Machette, certified astrologer, sacred healing counselor, tarotist, and numerologist, providing individual consultations, teaching and tutoring internationally, co-author of Gateways to Change, Keys to Navigating the Seas of Life, currently facilitating workshops in Marysville and Camino Island, Washington.
And I'm Sarah Stromley, a craniosacral therapist and founder of Brain Body Therapy in Kirkland, Washington. I'm an evolutionary astrologer that incorporates different forms of horary, location mapping, and medical astrology into my practice. I enjoy uncovering flower and mineral frequencies that also support the mind-body coherence that aid in the healing journey.
And as Albert Einstein said,
Energy is never destroyed. Energy only changes.
Yes, indeed. And I'm Sue Rose Minahan, and we always begin each session with each one of us distilling some sense and integrating some energy, because the month does have its highlights, and it certainly is not the entire picture. But I will start with presenting a thought, and it is really that Venus itself, the ruler of Taurus, is out of bounds. And there's extra attention in that. And I was just listening to a wonderful astrologer, Anne Orderly. Oh, I'm going on a little further than perhaps I need to. But the fact is, Anne was mentioning that when it's out of bounds, it's like, imagine you're at a baseball team and you're the hitter and you whack it and you make the home run. Everybody's happy. Yay, team. And then you whack it and it goes into the stands and it's bloody and kind of messy. Ooh, my, you kind of goofed up. What happened there? Well, it can be either or, drastic or however. But the fact is, Venus in all her glory of our desires and needs and how we receive those and initiate them through what we care about is on the high side. So, Liz, what is your take on one facet of this energy that we're in, this Taurus energy with Scorpio moon?
Well, the new moon with Taurus, I would say that we're reevaluating our values and our relationships. You mentioned before we are going through this coronavirus pandemic. So, a lot of us are home, working from home, and we're getting on the internet. So, we're kind of shifting gears, so to speak. And so some of the old ways that we did things, is that really going to work, or do we need to make changes? And I also wanted to say that on the new moon, if you haven't already, to go ahead and make your new moon wishes, affirmations, or desires, because we're still in that new moon energy. So, write it down, put it out to the universe.
Oh, I love it. Very good. Which reminds me, we are planning to have a workshop, a collaborative workshop on June 14th through East West Books. It is not yet presented, but we'll keep you in touch about that. And Sarah, I would love to hear what you are thinking about this too.
Yeah, with this Taurian Venusian energy right now, especially with this new moon this last week, or just very recently, there's a focus on what we have, what we're used to having, what we want in order to be comfortable, and what we actually need. And there's this beckoning and urgency to recognize also that we've entered a new era. So what we would call the age of Aquarius, and what this entails for adjustment and strategy to pivot to these new needs and wants and requirements.
Wow, that's pretty perfect. It really gets back down to resources, doesn't it? Each one of you have really put the key parts of this. This is why I love it. It's like, yes, Venus is really intense right now, as I was saying, and Liz reminding us that we have a seed moment, just like actually Taurus especially exemplifies that, because it's planting in the earth and it's growing and its strength and to create new possibilities. And Sarah, what resources are strengths that we have, and versus comfort, and how to process integrate that strategies. Wonderful. Well, the new moon, again, just to mention to people, April 22nd, 7:26 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, has many features, and there are some potent tensions. I mean, this ongoing tension that we're having all year, actually, with Jupiter and Pluto and Capricorn, that in the chart are opposing, not opposing, but they're squaring our thought process. And that's not quite it. But the whole link really goes from, anyway, you know what, I'm going to that doesn't quite tie into, it's part of the theme of happening. It doesn't directly first pull into the sun moon. The sun moon in Taurus with Venus, Venus is square Neptune, and that really has our struggle between form and spirit and what we can control and can't. You can take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the new moon is at 3 degrees and 24 minutes of Taurus. It's conjoined in the sky with Uranus of changes. So, there's going to be some changes that we're going to make, a lot of energy. So, like, if you want to make changes or you're getting ready to make changes, work on those wishes and desires. And this chart, for especially here in Seattle, is very much Venus ruled, because you've mentioned Venus quite a bit here, Sue. And it's a lot about Venus, which Taurus is planet is Venus. So it's like our values and our gardening. But we can plant seeds in our life to grow a business or to maybe get some education. Maybe we don't really like the job we've been doing. It's like, here's a really good opportunity to maybe get some new training and move forward, to look into it, see what's out there.
You did bring attention, which I forgot about. Our rising sign on the West Coast here is Libra, so it's ruled by Venus too. That's so correct, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that Uranus, excellent. I'm glad you focused right in on that. But Uranus wants our authentic.
Well, and then another interesting thing is that Chiron is an asteroid. It has different classifications. I keep changing it, but the discovery degree is at 3 degrees of Taurus, and this new moon's at Taurus. So I believe that we'll be, as a world, healing and ourselves and the world, and learning to do things in a new way, and teaching, maybe have some new teachers or people stepping up to teach things that they haven't taught before.
Yeah, Chiron was, and I think Sarah, I know you've spoken, we all speak, but I know you also have studied Chiron. We've all studied Chiron. Boy, if I could finish a sentence, that would be helpful, huh? We've all studied Chiron, but he's the maverick, he's the shaman, he's the healer, and he's also the he alchemizes,
The
alchemist, yes, and the wounded healer, but these other factors. So that's triggering that point, and that is part of astrology where we're reconnecting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And go ahead. Yeah, everybody, we're at home. Yeah. We don't have that body language.
Yeah.
And both of you are being so patient. Just jump in.
There's this excitability and need for authenticity, and maybe even the need to speak one's truth involved with that Uranian Sun Moon conjunction that's also squaring the structures, wanting to break out and break into maybe a new identity that could be also tied into this, or a new way of kind of factoring what we most value. And
exactly. And it is in the 7th house. So it would be, when you say break away and find our freedom of who we are, I'm thinking too, it's with other people. And you're right, like both of you have mentioned, we know that with this delay, one can have, delay as far as activity, being at home, one can really reflect on what the values and the purpose, but it is seventh house, and it's also pre-verbal. I sometimes I wonder just how much we're really able to express. It's more of maybe it's a good time to get doing art or some other manner to express things to ourselves.
Yeah, and maybe finding ways of our health system to kind of better partner, because there seems to be all these different parts and pieces that don't quite tie together very well. And maybe maybe part of this healing journey is trying to figure out how we're going to reinvent a better functioning healthcare system.
And that reminds me, because you both have a lot to do with the physical arts too, whether it's Reiki or whether it's cranial sacral work and elixirs and all of that. So the body, Taurus is the body. It's so true. We need to connect with our body besides the earth and be really unsuperficial, really authentic, I think, with that Uranus. And besides, Saturn is in Aquarius, and Saturn is square Uranus. It's in that configuration, and it's looking to Uranus. And they're both, Saturn was the ancient ruler of Aquarius, and then, of course, in modern times, Uranus is. So they're both, in a sense, struggling over this conceptual reality of focusing with the structure and earth and the sky and the body. I mean, I'm being a little bit in analogies, but it's also very symbolic.
Yes.
Yeah,
Double structure. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, I was going to mention, with the significance of the sun moon conjuncting Uranus, and Uranus is right at this fixed star point of two fixed stars, one called Shadar, that's within the Alpha Cassiopeia constellation, and it's been documented or studied or have an awareness of supporting awareness of the interrelationship of nature kingdoms, plants, animals, the earth itself, and it's felt deeply within ourselves, most significantly through the energy of gratitude. So since we all have the same basic DNA structural building blocks of life, there's this recognition of mitochondria, which is the energy within the cell that supports life, that has this very delicate balance of carbon dioxide and oxygen gases that support it. And so it's just to support and activate the energy of this star with all this planetary conjunctions with that. And throughout May, it's suggested for increasing in personal growth and earth healing powers is through praying and meditating and really focusing on what is praiseworthy.
That really connects back to Venus at square in astrological language, and that's 90 degrees, which is a tension that wants resolution, to Neptune in Pisces that really exemplifies the unknown and what we can't control over, that relates to the spirit. And so our values and our thinking, that's absolutely right. And gratitude, once again and again, is brought forth in so many metaphysical talks that it engenders abundance. If we're thankful, so the ancient, or not even ancient, but whether indigenous people, and that always, if they caught a fish and they ate it, they gave thanks. If they had grain that they harbored, if it was an animal or whatever, they always gave thanks. And we do too. A lot of religions still have grace, or whatever they want to call it, but it was deeply embedded. And so that's really excellent. This fixed star that's right there in tight conjunction
on Earth Day.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah. So, and Liz, you mentioned something about how that point of the sun moon is right at where we, or maybe it was Sue, you
No,
mentioned
no,
that.
no. It was the Chiron. Chiron was 3 degrees Taurus in 1977. Chiron was discovered
What?
at 3 degrees Taurus. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, there were some really interesting facts you had
Yeah.
about that. If you could bring that
Yes,
in.
I'd love that too. Yes, we need to return to that. Thank you.
Yes, because Chiron was discovered in, I believe it was November of 1977, and it was at 3 degrees of Taurus. And so it's really energizing this new moon, I feel. And, Chiron's discovery will have its, Chiron will return to Taurus in about another 8 years. So, because I think it's been about 42 years since they discovered it. But it just, to me, really empowered and enforced this Taurian new moon, about what our values are. It's like people are saving lots of money by not driving and spending $20 two or three times a week on gasoline. The people that are still working from home. So it's like really changing for so many people what their value system is. And it's like, was that sustainable? Maybe a person's health was being challenged because, they're driving and spending
Stress.
stress of the traffic, an hour or 2 hour commute. They're just not getting enough rest. And so, possibly now, not that people don't have any stress, but it's like just
It's a different
changing.
kind of stress.
Hmm. And I believe every individual has something to share with other individuals. So that's where I kind of talk about the teaching point of that we all have something to share with somebody that they maybe don't know or don't know how to do, or there's always something that can be added.
Oh, that's
So,
marvelous.
And Sue, you mentioned how the internet was founded at the same degree too.
Well, it didn't quite say that because folks, we had, we were briefing ourselves before this talk, and that's what Sarah's referencing to. What I was bringing up is that 50 years ago, the internet was developed. Initially, it was on a small scale, but Vincent Cerf, CERF, had just passed, and it was this wonderful article in the paper, and that's what brought my attention or realization to this, and that they were called the netheads back then, internet, so they call them netheads, and so, and it made me realize, because with both these fact that it's a Chiron return, and Chiron can be 49 to 51 and a half years. It depends on, it's an elliptical orbit. So it's not exact. But in this case, it's close to a Chiron return. And that is this whole energy, which, Liz, you're mentioning too, is significant for this new moon, because it is that same degree when Chiron was discovered in 77. But this other factor with the internet is the fact that it itself is coming into its own now 50 years approximately. And and look at where it's come. We are now booming with it to the point that we need passwords, and we need to elevate a lot of the situation about it. And of course, Uranus is conjunct this, which rules internet. I mean, it's elevation is what Aquarius, Saturn's in Aquarius, and it's ruled, and with that tension with Uranus in the fixed signs in Taurus, both of them are at early degrees. And if anybody in your charts here have fixed signs, whether it's Leo or Scorpio or either Uranus or Taurus, you're going to be also experiencing this kind of tension of how to shake through what's been formed, because fixed is fixed. But the fact is, in this situation with the internet, It's really elevated, and for the purpose, not just for yourself to maybe post your Facebook pictures and whatnot, but to teach and to learn and whatnot. I mean, we all do consultations, and they are all three of us. In fact, you can find us and have consultations online. Like Liz was doing it at Camino Island in Marysville, but now it's online. And so it's really can be tailored much more according to, it has advantages, according to a schedule and all of this. But it is really a fascinating growth. And this idea of the meditation, I think I've probably referred it, but looking at the chart as I am, I'm reminded because it interacts in many ways. And the Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is in this also its own square with an outer planet, Neptune, in Pisces. So yes, meditating, and even meditation is online. I'm in a class myself. It's really just a fascinating.
One thing I wanted to add to the date that you referenced, for because it shocked me that the internet was created October 29th, 1969, because it was well before anyone was aware of it, until it didn't even kind of go public until August 6, 91. But it's conjunct fixed star Hamal, and it said that the energy of Hamal promotes the powers of mental concentration and telepathic communication, and the awareness of the micro and macro processing, and the furthering of comprehension of powerful symbols brought into form for the development of humanity.
Oh boy, you do come up with nuggets. And when you said shocked, I thought, well, yes, isn't that the truth? I think a lot of people do feel a lot of shock about many things. Uranus is that sudden vision of insight because of the light opening up. And so that's very appropriate. Oh my goodness, it's at the half hour. Well, we will return. This is the Moonbeam team with Sarah Stromley and Elizabeth Mouchat on April 25th. Or the 30th in the morning. Okay, we'll be right back. Thank you.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We're currently in the period of Taurus. By leaving a cycle based upon initiation, the energy of Taurus integrates spirit into a solid form of matter that is tangible and physical. It's an earth sign, concerned with self-sufficiency and the values to maintain the strength of a life form throughout its survival.
This is Carol Dimitrov, intuitive astrologer, and you're listening to Talk Cosmos on Alternative Talk 1150 AM, where we unveil astrology's ancient archetypes that continually build the collective experiences in our unconsciousness.
Broaden your horizons. You'll be amazed at all the topics we cover on Alternative Talk 1150.
Hi again, this is Sue Rose Minahan, Talk Cosmos with the Moonbeam team for Taurus, and we spent the first part of the hour talking about the new moon, which has been passed as of the 22nd, and we have a few events that we're going to talk about right now, and we will include after that about the full moon Scorpio, which is coming up on May 7th. And I wanted to bring up one thought about this Taurus new moon that's just passed. It will be concluding the nodal system of the North Node in Cancer and the South Node in Capricorn. And the significance of that is that for 18 months, we have been collectively as one global energy working with integrating the North Node Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, and the moon changes every 2.5 days. It is the fastest moving planet. It's actually a luminary. It reflects, it doesn't emit light, but the fact is we refer to it as a planet. And so, and it has therefore many changes, and it is our emotional body. It represents many factors, but the point being that we've for the last 18 months have been experiencing emotional growth, our past lives with our family. I mean, not past lives, but also our childhood, our home. We're in our homes now. And with the new moon that will be in Scorpio, the nodes will be changing. So we do want to bring that subject up, because I was looking at the new moon, like innovating relations, which we talked about a lot, innovation with Uranus and the sun and the moon all in the same, closely connected. And with the Scorpio, it'll be reviewing the unknowns. So we will return, though, for this moment with a little introduction that we bring in at the half hour, where now both members of this Moonbeam team are going to give a little extra information on another aspect that relates to the entire theme of this Taurian month. And Sarah Stromley, who is an astrologer but also has her personal business of brain therapy, founder of Brain Body Therapy, will be bringing up a few elixirs that are potent at this time that you can order from her. And she is in the process of working on a hand sanitizer that involves some flower essences. And if you want to get on her mailing list, because it will be ready by early May, coming up in just about a week or so, then go to Talk Cosmos and you will find how to email Sarah on the guest part. So Sarah, I would love to hear what energies you have in store for us.
Oh, for the new
Yes.
moon, or I mean for the full moon, I for both of these charts that we're looking at for May, there's this unquenching desire for truth that speaks even louder at this full moon. And I see this scorpionic tension dynamic for the need to know versus the need for privacy. And I can see issues like the GPS tracking software incorporated into smartphones becoming possibly a bigger issue, or some examples kind of like that. So, but in general, there's going to be just more emotional sensitivity that is best channeled into powerful inward meditation, prayer, and asking good questions about what is the most desirable outcome here.
Wow. Now, did you have, because
for
plants,
flower essence?
Well, yeah, for flower essences, because and I hadn't mentioned, now's a good time, I will do that,
Okay.
Historically in lives in the past, since Egyptian and since Babylonian times, the moon has helped people know when to plant. So the moon is still in the yearly, annual, what is it, for the farmers always. And so therefore you have at least one flower essence, whether it's for the new moon or the old moon, the full moon.
Well, it's just for this particular time. There was one that was really speaking loudly, and that is fig. And fig flower helps with adjusting to change, adaptability, and setting healthy boundaries. And the fig is really a remarkable fruit that's been referenced and revered widely in a variety of diverse sacred ancient texts. The fig the fig plant itself, or the fruit, it's neither fruit nor flower, but it's actually both. It's because it has this hollow, fleshy receptacle that's enclosed a multitude of flowers of both male and female parts, which never really see the light, yet the fig comes to its full perfection to ripen its seeds by very specific attracting of its own specific fertilization. So as a flower essence, fig improves confidence, memory, telepathy, and expressive abilities, and it aids in resolving conflict and easing of hidden fears.
Oh, I've written that down.
Yeah, so fig elixir supports the mental energies and stimulating the conception of ideas. Oh. So, and it's one of the 3 Key flower essences I'm using in the hand sanitizer I'm creating through brain body therapy to better manage the stress of our current times. So, and you can get that for $26.95 plus shipping and handling. And for more information, just go to talkcosmos.com.
Oh, good. Oh, well, this is wonderful. And you will find Sarah Stromley under the guest, and whether it's 1, 2, or 3 years she's been on. Thank you so much, Sarah Stromley. And I say your last name so people remember that. Liz, Elizabeth Mouchette. Now, Liz is online now giving a wonderful course. She has always given at Camino Island or at Marysville, but now everything is online. And so it will be the ABCs of astrology. Liz has been teaching for years and years. It's a wonderful 4-week course. And from there, always you can get mentored and there'll be other classes, but that will be coming up in the next month. So email Liz, and go to Talk Cosmos too to find out, and you can get on her list. And she co-authored a book, Gateways to Change, that involved numerology. And so we're asking Liz now to give us the numbers of the degrees of the full moon and the new moon. So Liz, we would love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, the new moon was 3 degrees and 24 minutes. So I rounded up to the next number. So it's 4. So the number 4 is about building, rebuilding, and repairing, working on new solutions. There can also be restrictions sometimes, and we're on a stay-at-home restriction. There's a lot of mental and physical work. And you are moving forward and making progress, even though you may feel like you're spinning your wheels at times. And then for the full moon, that's at 17 degrees, so I rounded that up to 18. And so the 1 is individual and new opportunities ahead, and the 8 is renewal and reward. And the 18, you add the 1 and the 8 together, you come up with 9. So you have releasing and endings of what no longer serves you or is useful. And you're letting go of old goals and desires to make room for new goals and desires.
Wow, that really relates to Scorpio. I'm just amazed. In fact, new solutions, the first one really relates to that seeding point that we talked about of
the new moon,
visualizing. And then 8 with resources, and letting go of 9 of one phase finishing. This is really appropriate. So unless one of you have something more to say, I want to remind people that would be Sarah Stromley with her hand sanitizer, and Liz with ABCs of astrology. And I'm going to have a page 2 for consultations. And so we will talk about the full moon, and that would be at, let's see, the full moon is at 17 degrees Taurus for the sun and Scorpio for the moon in 19 minutes. That's 17 degrees, 19 minutes.
And that's Thursday, May 7th.
Correct. Yes. At 3:44 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, or 6:44 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So, and yes, we're all looking at it, aren't we? And somebody,
yes.
Jump in.
And the nodes will have changed to the new signs of the North Node in Gemini and the South Node in Sagittarius. So we're going to really have a big shift of energy there.
Enormous. Thank you. Instead of the moon and Saturn, it will be Mercury and Jupiter.
And the nodes of the moon stay in a sign for approximately 18 months.
Yes, so we're in it for a year and a half. This is a very enormous shift. And
so the focus could be more on communications and medical care and merchandising and fair trade, like trade systems and e-commerce.
And neighborhoods, our immediate
Neighborhoods,
neighborhoods.
yeah.
I mean, we will go from the home to the neighborhood, which is really going to be quite contentious. It already is quite a source of debate, and really how are we going to handle that? It will really be evident. I mean, there's still this Pluto and Jupiter that is in a conjunction, which is, we spoke about it last time on the last program, but the last time it was really evident with with Uranus was in 1522, or else it was back 3000 BC around the Sumerians. It's a very enormous, it happens regularly. I mean, Jupiter will conjunct with Pluto every year, and it'll have 3 times, meaning it'll be positive and then retrograde and positive every 50, 60 years. But to have these other energies involved, to have it in Capricorn and to have Uranus in Taurus, and then also Neptune in Pisces, which happens to, anyway, you listen to last week to get more information really about it. But the fact is that we're transforming. That was what I was trying to bring up. Philosophical thought, institutions on a scale that we've not really done before.
Well, and then Pluto's going retrograde, or it went retrograde today. So it's like we are transforming and
that's why I'm
making
stuttering.
changes and adjustments. We have to adjust because, and that's the only planet retrograde right now. And when planets shift, we call it a station. So when it stations retrograde, which it did today, but usually a week or so before, or a week or so after, especially an outer planet like Pluto, you'll really feel the energy. So I think we're going to really dig deep within, and let things come up to the surface. And it's on all levels. It's like, what's working, what isn't working, let it out.
Absolutely. And really, those words could be repeated several times because it is in strong connection with both Jupiter. Well, it is with Jupiter and this Pluto, and which is our philosophies, our belief structures, our religions, our opinions. That's one issue about Jupiter, is it's a generous, expanding energy, and it's meant to have a voice so that we can share that, but we can get stuck with some high opinions, which is what we're all experiencing, and throughout it to be perhaps revised, and along with the structure, of Saturn.
Yeah, I get the word restructuring pretty loudly with this one.
Oh, I like it. And that goes along with fig, doesn't it? Oh, I care a fig. Or do you care for a fig? I love figs.
Do you give a fig?
Yeah, right. I know they grow in part of the country. I remember a home that we had some people that rented it for a while. They planted a fig tree. They used to dig it up and then move to the next house and dig it. But
wow.
But in our house it became too big, so you couldn't transplant it. And they grow here in Seattle too.
Wow.
They grow nearly
and
everywhere.
A fresh fig is so good. It's much better than it's yummy.
It's delicious. I love them.
Right. Well, looking at this chart as we're eagerly the nodes, yes, the energies are really and significantly moving in a reclaiming way. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was kind of getting, Gemini seems like more short term, and Sagittarian energy is more long term. So it's like there's a polarity there.
Except that, yes, but I might mention that
short distance, long distance.
Well, yes, but Gemini connects ideas, and it does bridge the spirit and the matter. I mean, if you look at the two twins, one was mortal, one was immortal, and it feeds information to that fiery Sagittarius energy that gets very, even though they're both mutable, it can get quite expanded with its idea, with its format of belief systems. And so the new information can shift that belief systems. That's the advantage of it. That's kind of how I'm looking at that whole energy too, because it is, you're right, one is potentially more structured because belief systems are many thoughts, right?
Well, and it's interesting that the chart for the West Coast here has the sun in the second house is my beliefs, and the moon is in the eighth house, our beliefs as a collective, or what our parents taught us, or at school or work, or our governments, our churches, all that. It's like the outside beliefs coming in
Yeah.
and values.
Yeah.
So it really emphasizes that.
Yes, it is. We'll be thinking a lot, Mercury, and again, it's in body. So I suppose really learning to connect this month with body and resources in any way is the name of the game.
Neighbors.
There, oh,
Yeah.
that's good. And siblings, come to think of it.
Sure.
Right. And it can be community even too. So like, I'll grow the carrots, you grow the peas, and somebody else will grow the beans.
Well, do you know what's interesting is Uranus isn't aspected by anything. I mean, any of by Ceres. It has a sextile to Ceres, and Ceres, of course, as an asteroid that I very much love. I mean, she is nurturing and either has plenty or nothing. I mean, she was the one who lost the daughter Persephone to Pluto, the underworld, but can be nurturing. So our senses of, I mean, it is a wide orb, 10 degrees to the sun. So yes, in that case, which I do believe can exist, 10 degrees, but it's going to be a lot of stillness, I think, as far as how to think, how to perceive things, how to move forward. Do you think so?
Yes, and like
Yeah.
with the ascendant or rising of this chart is Pisces, and the ruler of Pisces is Neptune, and that's sitting on the ascendant. So I think it's like we have lots of ideas and maybe dreams, but we just can't at this moment put them all into motion at this moment. But it's like all these ideas are coming in, so that's awesome, and dreams.
And it must be because there's still that tension of square with Venus, which is going to go retrograde. That's another thing. It'll be just at the very end of this whole Taurus energy. I think it's about the 21st or something, just as it goes into Gemini. But talk about stationary. Venus will be stationary and in this applied, that means getting closer to this more exact square with Neptune. That really is all about the unknown. And so going back to our other thought about the meditation, taking this stillness, and meditation can be done through art, meditation can be done through gardening, it can also be visualized, or it can be just attached to breath. There's so many ways to meditate, but it is somehow getting centered within and finding the source within that ultimately connects us with everything else. And it shifts how we perceive, and it also interacts with our role as to what, kind of like the AAA. No, it's not AAA, it's double A. Sorry about that. The Alcoholics Anonymous, it says, know what I can do and know what I can't do and know the difference. And you can say what I can't do is what spirit can do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Gemini is it rules the lungs as a body part, and with that square to Neptune, I think there's a tension between the need to connect with people, because it's a very social social placement that and the need for protecting the lungs and protecting oneself, because there's a lot of sensitivity there still. So,
well, the good news, I just noticed Mars, our action motivator, and it's still in innovative Aquarius that wants to, and it's in the 12th house here on the West Coast, which again is like reviewing the unknowns, but it is in a harmonious relationship with, so our activation and our receptivity that we might say is Venus is in a receptive, harmonious trine energy. So
with
possibly
Mars,
we'll work on some of that much better. Gee, and Uranus is exactly conjunct the sun. We are going to be, well, brainstorms, like we had said before, yes. I want to mention that next week it'll be the Cosmic Collaboration panel, and the subject will be these new nodes. And so that'll be really wonderful. And to remind folks, subscribe. Go to Talk Cosmos right there. It's pretty simple, and you'll get the updates as to when the Moonbeam team, such as now, is going to return for June and the other months. And remember that Sarah Stromley has a product that she's been preparing with beautiful products that are natural and that really have that attached to the botanical, and that just email her, and it'll be ready soon. And she also, that Liz Mouchette has, if you want to learn about astrology and find out about these energies in a comprehensive way, she has a 4-week class called the ABCs of Astrology. So do either one. And if you want consultations for any of us, I'm going to open up a consultation page on Talk Cosmos, which I'm in the process of preparing. And I'm so appreciative to the ones that have entered for the 100th show that we did a while back. And I've given a few readings. There's a few people I haven't quite been able to get in touch with. So if you're listening, just email me. I'm trying to reach you, and I'll be really glad to give you that consultation we talked about. And right tonight is April 25th, which is the Taurus Moonbeam team, and with Sarah Stromley and Liz Mouchette, and it'll be repeating on the 30th, Thursday morning. And we've been talking about the new moon, which is passed a couple of days ago on the 22nd, and now the Taurus new moon, full moon, that's coming up on May 7th. And it really is a matter of regeneration. Of course, that's the name of the game when you speak of Scorpio and our resources. So with that thought, I guess and looking at Venus, again, Venus is going to be so powerful as to giving us a chance in a while to really look at what our resources and talents and purpose is, because she will go retrograde after this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to really let us do a review.
Yeah, I think that will be interesting to listen to next week with with your collaboration team, the Venus retrograde and Jupiter going retrograde and Saturn retrograde on top of all that. So yeah, and the node change. Yeah, it'll be. I'm interested in tuning in. So.
Oh, goody. Well, it's such a pleasure to have both of these chances to really review and feel what the current electrical charge is, and I can say that with all this Uranus, is that a word? I don't think. I think
made up a new word.
I think you can make it a word.
Well, we'll see if it happens. That's right. Oh my gosh. So this is really a bon voyage to the lunar North Node, home to entering in the future, are embracing the neighborhood of, how we're going to work with that this is really quite a process. I had no idea before coronavirus that the moon would have such a, when we have about half a minute here, we can talk into the music, which is beautiful for Pisces too. Yes. And Taurus loves music.
And we'll be back next month to talk about the moons next month, mid-May or so.
Yes, we will. We'll be doing that. But we have a few minutes here, so if somebody...
Yeah, I just wanted to add it's a really potent time to consider how you bring value and how you can bring more of that to the world stage, regardless of whether that requires refining that through education or experience. Venus wants you to bring a voice to it and to share that with someone you trust for more support.
Oh, I love it. We will have our workshop. We're going to work on it June 14th, and the news will come through East West Books. All right. Well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Liz. And thank all of you out there at home in our vibrational new world. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and guests unveil astrology's ancient archetypes that continually build the collective experiences in our unconsciousness. Be sure to tune in next Saturday at 6 p.m. to continue finding your roots in the stars.